More Heart Than Talent Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffrey Combs, Facebook Live. What is today? January 15th. Welcome aboard. It's my absolute privilege and honor to be here with you as we launch into the new year. Hi, Kelly Soto. Good to see you. Mary Smith. It's good to be back in the More Heart Than Talent Facebook Live game. Took a couple of weeks off for the holiday where Christmas fell on a Tuesday and New Year's fell on a Tuesday. So here we are, the second call. Oh, Lauren McLean, good to see you. Laura Allen, Brian Gallagher, Earl Teets, a lot of great clients there. So Lisa Pazanza, if you were on this live, good to see you. Frank Pecoraro, good to see you. So here we are live in person. What a great year, 2019. Moving into the inspirational portion of today's call, I have a great topic for you. Topic is called Creating Closure from the Past, Living in the Present. Now that will also show up in closing sales. For those of you who were on my prospecting clinic last Saturday, and I'm going to be doing several of those, I may be doing one in February, one a month. Closing shows up in everything you do. Closing is finishing, so closure. When you're able to separate your feelings from the events and create closure, now you can move on. So I'm going to cover a few quick announcements. That's going to be the topic for today's call. This Saturday, I'm taking off again 2 weeks back to back. I'm going to go to beautiful Carmel, California. If you've never been on 17 Mile Drive, put that in your bucket list. But next Saturday, I will be in Tarrytown, New York. My second trip to the East Coast in 2019. I will also be in Saddlebrook, New Jersey on March 2nd with Diane Hunt. So that will be a fabulous opportunity. I'll be back-to-back East Coast here quickly. I'll be in Chicago, Illinois, February 2nd, February 16th, and February 23rd, I'll be doing the Breakthroughs to Success workshop. A lot of events coming up. So February 16th, I will be in Kansas City, Missouri. February 9th, I'll be in Ponte Vedra, Florida. February 23rd is Breakthroughs. March 9th is an open date I'm about to fill. March 16th, I'll be in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And I just coached Mindy Shaw, who is the host of Las Vegas, Nevada, March 23rd. Also somewhere in there, I'll be going to Dulles, the Dulles Airport in the Virginia side of Washington, D.C., sometime in the very early spring. So those are some of the events that I'll be hosting More Heart Than Talent Live. I'm also going to be traveling a little less this year and doing more prospecting clinics on Saturday. So I experimented with the 3.0 prospecting clinic last Saturday, had great results, and I'll be bringing more and more prospecting, closing, asking, scheduling appointments, and creating closure. So with today's call or today's live, I still am that space of call versus live. But in today's Facebook Live, the topic is being able to create closure and separate your feelings from the events that shapes anxiety, fear, and doubt. Now, in the 60,000 hours one-on-one that I coach, and I coach today at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 1, it's very common that I get asked this question, how do I? And people will say to me, I know you hate this question. I don't hate the question. There's nothing to do. It's not that I hate the question. I understand the question. But the answer to the question isn't always the answer that a large percent of the population is seeking. Because your analytical, egoic mind, your reptilian brain wants to know, how do I? How to? How do I let go? Well, letting go is a longer breath cycle. Letting go is a commitment. Letting go is a decision. But most importantly, letting go is understanding what to let go of. Yeah, but. Well, in consciousness, there is no yeah, but in consciousness. But if your analytical, egoic mind consistently relapses back into yeah, but, how do I? How do I? How do I? This is what so much of society does. It's not a how do I situation. It's an I am situation. I is me is me right now. That is me. So in acceptance, I accept where I am. I understand where I am. I'm comfortable being where I am. That doesn't mean you're comfortable in your body, but you're comfortable with the process. You're comfortable with the recovery process, and you're not critical of it. When you're critical of self, now you're taking yourself back down into rejection. You're taking yourself down into apathy, one of the lowest levels of transmutation. To raise self up is self-awareness. That's actualization. That's understanding. That's trust. That's knowing. You may not be where you want to be, but you want to be able to know that by midnight tonight, you're going to go to bed without being critical of yourself. The simple discipline is what most people overlook. They want to know the how-to eyes that will get them out there rather than being present right here. Now, right here, right now means that there's no past that you put energy into, and there's no anxiety about the future, and what you have is called now. What you have is today. Now, the topic for today's call is on closure. Now, closure also is a duality. I mean, you don't close the past, but you understand it. And in closure, you don't give energy to events that don't serve you, meaning that you don't hold on to violations, you don't hold on to failures, you don't hold on to bankruptcies, you don't hold on to divorces, you don't hold on to relationships. You're able to let the situations go. And you do that in a longer breath cycle. You do it by self-awareness. You do that by understanding. You do it through gratitude. You do it through forgiveness. You do it through meditation. You do it through many different modalities. It's not a black and white answer, but it's a relaxed way to separate your feelings from the events. That's where you're able to put it behind you, and then you're not giving your analytical egoic mind and or your reptilian brain is not holding on to worrying about the past and worrying about the future. Anytime you're in that state, you're in an overwhelmed state, which means you're going to be unorganized, undisciplined, you're going to be late, and you're going to be behind. You don't astral project out into the future. I have a limo driver who was telling this friend of mine who he was driving to San Francisco today, oh my God, traffic's going to be really bad today. It's raining. It's going to be 3 hours. I cut him off. I go, stop. I go, don't tell her this. I go, she doesn't require to understand this. That's way too much information. I mean, he's projecting, he's projecting all of his own anxiety onto my friend, and I'm watching him do it. I go, stop. And I pull him over and I say, look, don't do this to her. She's brand new. She just moved here. She doesn't understand traffic, let alone she's in the back seat of your limousine. She doesn't require understanding traffic. You do. So he was projecting his anxiety on her. And then she turns around and goes, oh my God, it's going to be a long time to get there. He's already creating the space before it even happens. Unfortunately, that's what so many people do. They create an outcome they don't want to have happen. They worry about the outcome that they don't want to have happen. Then they manifest to their reality the very situation they sought to avoid. That is anxiety, fear, and doubt. How do I? Well, that's a past event that's brought into the future present so that a future event can be created to fulfill a past event that's unresolved. That is what so many people do. Hi, Mindy. Good to see you. It was great coaching last hour. T.C. Bradley is on here. Now, those of you who don't know T.C. Bradley, he has been my friend for 23 years, and he'll be speaking at the Protege Writer Speakers Workshop this spring. And he understands consciousness like me, because he and I also mentored with Frederick Lehrman, the great Frederick Lehrman of Prosperity Consciousness, over 23 years ago. And that's where we really started to learn how to be and stay present, how to focus on the now. Before Eckhart Tolle ever wrote the book, The Power of Now, I started practicing this in the 12-step programs in being here, being now, being present, let go, let God, and surrendering. Now, what does that actually mean? What it means is that in today, in now, that you're not in the past and you're not in the future. And that so many people, yeah, but don't you think? I don't think. And many people go, does that make sense? Does that make sense? And I don't make sense of it. Understand. When you understand, now you're talking context. And when you understand, then there's application. So when you can put understanding and application together, that's the result. So that result means you're able to let go easily and effectively. And in that result, you'll change your reality, who and what you attract. If you're building a leveraged business, if you're building a real estate business, if you're building a business that requires a lot of customers, you want customers that have some level of influence and affluence, some percent of them. ideally a higher percent, but because the law of averages is the law of the averages, there's going to be about 80% of all your database is going to be what it is, a series of people who are overwhelmed in anxiety, fear, and doubt. Now, if you're in anxiety, fear, and doubt, that minimizes and inhibits your ability to attract your reality, the people and situations that would foster the change that you are seeking to create. Now, in this space of transformation, this space of recovery, this space of change that you're seeing is like this. It's in, out, and right there. So the horizon point, that's the vanishing point. That's what's out in front of you, right there. So that's where I can see. So I'm looking out my picture window. It's raining in beautiful Northern California. So I can see about 100 yards and I can see the horizon point. But I'm not focused there. I'm focused right here. And so right here, this is the focus. This is, you put energy into the present, into today, into results, solutions, into exercise, into recovery, into relaxation, into gratitude, into forgiveness. I mean, this is your focus. But so many people are chronic complainers. They're flaw finders, and they will find all the flaws, they'll complain, and then they'll find themselves in an overwhelmed state, not understanding why they attract their reality, people and situations to fulfill their separate feelings. It means that I am not the mind-body connection to those events any longer. So if I'm an accident, if I was born an accident, an unwanted child, that's a fact. But the fact is, now I'm a grown man. I don't have to own the fact that was the facts, that those were the facts, but those facts don't have to stay my identity. But if I've adopted those facts that I'm not good enough, I'm going to attract to my reality over and over. I'm not sure if I'm good enough. I'm not sure if I deserve it. This is how many people talk. This is the open loop that so many people live in. On my little whiteboard right here, these are a series of what I call OLs, open loops. This is what many people live in. They have this unfinished business, these open loops. Now, closure means you bring to reality in the present. You start to separate your feelings from those events, and you're able to easily and effortlessly let go. And I see I have Dr. Joshua on the line today. David Lipka, good to see you. Stephen Brantley, longtime client. Sonny, good to see you. Lisa Oliver, a lot of great people on here today. Thank you very much for being here. I've had the privilege of coaching many of you. Many of you are starting to understand that the content that I deliver to you, many of you are starting to live it. And so here, this is the actual practical reality that letting go is not a difficult experience. Letting go is a skill. Once the skill is mastered, there's a mechanism of it. Once the skill is mastered, then you can let go easily and effortlessly. So when someone cuts you off in traffic, you don't have to get even. You don't have to be right. When someone wants to be right with you, you don't have to make them wrong. When the airplane is delayed, you don't start thinking worst case scenario. I was in Philadelphia recently, and the board kept changing on the flight. It went from 6:20 to 7:30 to 8 to 8:30 to 9:30. And then I called the 1K, the Million Mile Flyer desk, and I found out I'm only 84,000 miles away from being a 2 million mile flyer. And I found out that I'll be a platinum member very soon, which is good, but I was more concerned about the plane that night. Oh, we don't know, it could be any time. The FAA has done this. And then all of a sudden they called me to the gate immediately. So, Mr. Combs, your flight is about to leave. And here I am, it's 8 o'clock, get on the plane and I'm home. But I wasn't in the worst case scenario, but I also wasn't in the best case scenario. I was sitting there knowing, I knew that I was getting home that night. I didn't know what time I was getting home, but I wasn't going, oh my God, this always happens to me. The airline industry, it's so, what? I can't believe this. I wasn't in that story. That means I'd have an open loop from the past because this always happens to me. That's what so many people do, is they recreate the past to fulfill their disappointment in the present. Then they can justify why they do what they do. Beth Henning, thank you for that comment. I believe it. There's Dale, thank you very much. Beth, I'm honored to be coming to Montana with you. I just coached Mindy right before you. What a great teammate of yours. So this year, I am dedicated to being my best me with you. I am dedicated. I am committed to come to your town and your city and delivering content that will really assist you to let go. I'm not going to like take you to the next level. That's way too difficult for me. I'm not here to change your life. I'm here to assist you with the facilitation of your change, specifically so you can understand letting go. Now, if you can understand letting go, like you really, it goes beyond grasping it. It means you live it. So when you live let go, you're living recovery and consciousness in the same body. Now as you live it, you can also teach it to a few people. Now, as we as a collective consciousness, as we, those of you on this Facebook Live, start to understand the context, that's the information, and then the application of letting go, this is what raises your consciousness. This is what changes who and what you attract. Now, I was covering this with Diane Hunt yesterday. I was covering with Aaron Skolnick today on the real science of attraction. There's an inner skill to attraction. Now, some of you are going to get to meet my friend TC Bradley. TC and I go back to 2000 or to 1995. TC has great attractor factor. He takes people to best-selling. He took my book to bestseller on 2 different lists. He has great attractor factor. But when I met TC, he was selling snack vending routes in Allsup, Illinois. And in a 23-year period after a near-death experience, he's become very iconic in his world of attraction. And he's going to come to my Protege Writer Speakers workshop, and he's going to assist people to really understand how to take a brand to a book to bestseller. I mean, that's attraction. And so there's a real inner game to that. And it all begins like with this call. It's called closure. So closure means is peace. It doesn't mean you put nails in the coffin. It's not a 16-penny nail. You don't hire Chris Shard to do your construction project for you. It means that you're able to, in the era, you're able to let go of the anxiety about outcomes that haven't happened. You're able to be here and be now. And you're able to take context and then put application into reality. Now, these are the people you're required to attract to your reality in any business. Someone that can join you in a business or join you as an employee or a vendor you attract. They come out and look at your property. You conceptualize with them the project you want them to build, and then they build it. And they build it in the time frame that they commit to. You pay them on the time frame that you commit to, and then you have a finished project. I have on the line today Josh Waxman. He just says, "What's going on, Jeff?" Well, Josh is one of the most brilliant young men I've ever coached. He's 23 years old. He's a franchisee owner of Lee's Hoagie House in Philadelphia. He has 2 of them at 23, put himself in tremendous debt. He's not worried about the debt. He's focused on the result. So he's focused on opening on Super Bowl weekend. Now, I assisted him with his funding, and he wasn't worried about the past. He wasn't worried about, oh my God, how am I going to pay these bills? He was focused on getting the restaurant open because he knows that once that restaurant is open, then he'll be able to pay his debts. That's what he focused on. And now, February 3rd, he's going to have his second location. He's 23 years old, has something like 60 employees, has a top-tier hoagie house, and he's fascinating. I'm going to have him speak at one of my events. He'll explain what a hoagie really means. I thought it was a bread roll, but no, it's a region in Philadelphia. It's fascinating, the whole history of that. So the more you understand the cause that creates the effect of why you do what you do. Oh, Cynthia Collins is on Facebook Live. I've known Cynthia for many, many years, 13 years, Cynthia. Thank you for being on this live. Cynthia goes back to the Jim Rohn era with me. I believe she saw Jim Rohn the second time he spoke with me. I mean, that is a memory. So you want to have Josh says, thank you. Right on, Josh. You're my man. So now if you would do what Josh does, now if you would like focus on the outcome. Now, Josh is like one of these guys he's willing to sleep on the couch. He's willing to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches virtually. I'm not just making this up. If you interview him, you can find him on Facebook. He's put everything on the line at 23 years old against conventional wisdom. His father said, I wouldn't do that. It's too big a risk. Don't do that. Don't do that. Now, anyone who understands anything about franchises, you typically require 1, 2, 3, or 4 of them to make them profitable. And at 23 years old, that's what he's doing. I mean, he's focused on the outcome. He's not focused on the past. He's focused on the result that he's committed to creating. And he's not worried about going bankrupt. He's not worried about paying his bills. He's focused on Super Bowl Sunday, having the doors open. I mean, that's the focus. And I watched him create the funding in about 60 days. He went from concept, reality, doors will be open February 3rd. That's what you want to be able to actualize. It's an understanding, it's an awareness, but it becomes a reality. And until you live in that hands-free zone, then you will constantly create mistakes, chronically disappoint yourself, chronically overwhelm yourself to perpetuate a set of feelings to fulfill your disappointment. Now, when you're no longer the mind-body connection to these events, now what does that actually mean? It means that I am able to separate my feelings. It's not a guardrail you're holding on to. It's your anxiety about the future and your regret of the past that you hold on to. This is why many people say, I'm not where I should be. I should be further along. Well, reality is you're right where you're supposed to be, or you wouldn't be there. Now, when you understand that, that's acceptance. For the last 3 days, I've been reading David Hawkins' brilliant book, Letting Go. I read this book frequently, but I've been devoting a lot of time to the chapter on acceptance. When you can accept where you are and understand why you're there without being critical, without being judgmental, and accept where you are and understand that you're there for a reason. You're right where you are right now. You may be in a lot of debt. You may be going through an emotional challenge. You may be going through a relationship challenge. The business you're in isn't creating the results you're seeking. I mean, but you're able to accept that, but you create a new outcome. And that outcome comes from a different energy. You can't bring anxiety, fear, and doubt energy into the house of pleasure. You can't drag your pain into pleasure and expect to find other pleasure seekers, because you'll attract people who seek pain. And as you begin to separate yourself from the pain body, that means the overwhelmed, analytical, egoic mind that keeps you processing, thinking, and analyzing, then that's why you attract the same situation over and over, because underneath it all, you're not good enough. And you don't require success from the past to be successful today. Self-esteem requires no acceptance other than yourself. Self-esteem requires no recognition or reward. Self-esteem is independent of any outside influence. So in esteem, as you're in esteem, that means lovable, good enough, capable. And in self-esteem, you have a regard for self, meaning that you can have a regard for yourself without feeling selfish, and you're able to let go of the guilt associated with the anxiety of the outcome. Now, when you're in that space creates a different energy. That conscious energy that creates joy, love, bliss, reciprocity, prosperity, feelings of goodness, worthiness, that's transmuted. Now, the message is different. You're not in a mixed message. Hi, please join me in a business, but I'm not good enough. Please join me, but don't give me any money because I'm not sure if I can accept it. I'd like to be in business with you, but I don't want to be responsible for you. So let's go ahead and end this conversation, and you go that way, I'll go that way, and I'll be disappointed and I'll feel rejected. Now that's what goes on a lot of underneath the surface in the communication style. That's the gap and a delay that so many people have in their communication style that keeps them recreating the same situation over and over to fulfill the same set of feelings of rejection, abandonment, grief, and apathy. And as you start to separate your feelings from these events, that's when you start to create closure. I know there's certain people from my past that if I associate with them, I know they're going to violate me. I know that if I sit down and have dinner with one person from my past, inevitably, this person is going to bring up everything they can that I did to remind me of the things I did that were wrong, bad, screw-ups, how I cost them time, money, and all these situations. I know that's going to happen because that's predictable. Now, first of all, I'm not going to put myself in that unless I have to. And if I do, I'm not going to let the past affect my present. And because I know that person's predictable, I know how to neutralize that quickly by not giving it power. Rather than validate, justify, and explain myself, I will simply ask that person a question because I have closure with that. There isn't anything I have to explain. I don't have to apologize anymore. I don't have to ask for any more forgiveness. I'm done with it. So done with that. Now, when you can be that person, you'll attract your reality more frequently in an occlusal alignment. That's like right there. Like it means in your alignment. To your reality, you'll attract more frequently quality, like-minded seekers of the same level of success that you're seeking. You can create meaning, purpose, and cause with. And you only require 2, 3, 4, or 5 of these in a calendar year to create a culture, because some of these people have influence and affluence that you don't have, and they can bring this to your culture. And when you bring that together, that is called a win-win situation. So if you're on this call and you've never had the opportunity to experience a free 20-minute coaching call, go ahead and leave me your name, your number in my inbox in Facebook, in Instagram, LinkedIn, or my fan page, preferably Facebook Messenger or in Instagram. And I will get back to you very, very quickly. Now, as I said, next Saturday I'll be in Tarrytown, New York. Very, very good experience. Can't wait to be there. My first New York trip this year. Philadelphia in January already. Looking forward to New Jersey in March. It's going to be an absolutely fabulous year. I'm really looking forward to coming to some of the cities. I'm going to be coming to Montana. Oh my God. Beth Henning, who is a client of mine, has introduced me to some really, really good clients. I'm going to be in Billings, Montana, and I'm a Montana kind of guy. I've been there numerous times. So looking forward to that. There's some other cities that I haven't been to in a long time that I'm looking forward to. Kansas City, Missouri, which is one of my hometowns. 2 of my best friends own top-tier restaurants there. So I'll be there February 16th. So looking forward to seeing many of you in 2019. Now, Facebook Live, I'll be hosting this every Tuesday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. These calls are recorded. They're available for Podomatic the next day. So Jeffrey Combs, thanking you for being here on Tuesday, Facebook Live. You have a great day.